Welcome to another video about the intriguing world of spirits. And if you are thinking to enter the spirit world, I think this episode might be exactly what you've been looking for. In this video, I will be sharing much more in depth about important ground rules that will help you to open this communication channel in a safe way. But I will also be sharing few personal tips and personal experiences so you can get even more ideas on how to make the most out of this communication and relationship with spirits. So please stay with me and I hope you'll enjoy it. My name's Natalia, also known as Sandia. I am a shamanic practitioner, medicine woman, tarot reader, animal communicator.
You can communicate with spirits pretty much anywhere, at any time, and you don't have to be any qualified shamanic practitioner. We are surrounded by spirits, and even if you walk through the forest or a meadow or a beach, you will be feeling spirits, and you shouldn't be afraid of really interacting with that side of life. However, what I'm talking about is really communication that becomes a little bit more interactive, and where we actually seeking perhaps for advice, help or assistance in something, or perhaps when spirits are reaching out to us for anything specific, then I think this video can be really helpful.
And in no particular order, let's start from rule number 1. Always show respect to spirits you attempt to communicate with, and always practice gratitude.
When contacting spirits, you must be appealing to them in a very respectful way. And this can be done, for example, by an offering or a prayer, and it can be very elaborated or it can be very simple. It really depends on your setting, circumstances, and what you're trying to achieve. The key thing really here is that we really need to act and behave in a respectful way, and it's always a good idea to come from the gratitude place. And as promised, I'm going to share with you a couple of tips here that I practice myself. When I contact a spirit, I wouldn't just go into asking for help or asking for guidance or seeking some answers. I would usually start with gratitude prayer and giving my thanks to that particular spirit for all the work perhaps that the spirit has done for me so far, or maybe for the humanity, or maybe for the earth. So to give you an example, let's choose a spirit that we can all relate to, and maybe let's choose a spirit of the fire or spirit of the water. These are elemental spirits that we kind of all understand. They are spirits, they are energies, and before I ask that particular spirit to do anything for me, I would first give thanks to that spirit for anything really that comes to my mind or heart. It could be something that I experience from that spirit in a daily life. So obviously, if it's a spirit of water, then I would give my thanks for the water I drink, for the water that I can cook with my food, for the water that I can use to bath myself, for the water in the rivers, in the oceans that are feeding animals, that giving beautiful scenery. After I give my thanks and gratitude to a spirit, then I move on to asking that spirit for a help. And also, if I know that spirit has reached out to me either recently or in the past, and perhaps is reaching out to me again, I would give my thanks and gratitude also for that. Just to give you an example, if I'm seeing any signs or messages around me and I'm still at the place maybe that I can't fully interpret what these messages are, I am still going to give my thanks and gratitude for showing me these messages, for trying to reach out. And I believe that way I keep encouraging the spirit to continue working with me, to continue trying to tell me what I need to know. That acknowledgement, that gratitude, that respect, it's just a really great way of keeping those beautiful spirits around you.
Let's move on to rule number 2. Never attempt to control spirits for your personal gain or to boost your ego. And that goes vice versa. Don't let spirits to take away your free will either.
We cannot and should not completely control spirits, especially when you call upon a spirit for a help. There are some edge cases where you can master a spirit or an energy and you can have a control over it. But I think long term, when you're trying to build a really safe relationship and safe communication with spirits, we should never really fall into that place of trying to put power over something. In some traditions, for example, in some Siberian tribes, a lot of the times shamans will master a spirit. For example, they're extracting from a patient. It could be a nature spirit that is just causing a harm, and they will very often try to control and master that spirit and make that spirit work for them, even to cause the good. Some way they have the power to take something that it has a negative impact and turn it into a positive impact. This is an edge case, and I wouldn't want to judge whether that's a good thing or bad thing, but personally, from my experience, I think that it's always better to come from a place of love and compassion. Being forceful and controlling, it's my really last resource. If you really want your communication with spirits to be safe, never control, never attempt to control spirits purely out of ego. And by the way, this should work also the other way around. Spirits should not have control over you either. There are edge cases where we merge with spirit sometimes when we let them to take control over our body, but it's not the same as spirits having a full control over us without our free will, without our agreement. And if you ever feel like spirits are forcing you to do something against your will, or if you really feel uncomfortable with what they're telling you to do or what you must do, either for yourself, for your clients, patients, for the land, you should always follow your heart in the first place. If you want to have that communication on a safe side, do not trust spirits when you feel forced to do something, when you feel like you are the one that is losing control over yourself and over your actions.
All right, let's talk for a bit about rule number 3, and this one touches on having no expectations. Don't expect that spirits will simply comply with your requests.
Don't expect that spirits will simply comply to what you want them to do. It just doesn't really work like that. And it's really sometimes frustrating because when we start working with spirits, we have all that enthusiasm and we really want to get the results. However, very often spirits will just not respond directly or will not respond straight away the way we want them to respond. And it's not because they don't want to help us, but sometimes maybe the way we think it's suitable, it's not actually for the higher good. Sometimes it's also because they want to see whether we are determined enough. My tip from my own experience here is that sometimes you may just simply need to revisit your intentions. What I would usually do when I communicate with spirits and I have a certain idea of what I want them to do, I usually add something like, if that's the best for this person, or if that's the best for us in this moment. Just don't have too many expectations, and let's not be too arrogant thinking that just because we call up on spirits, they'll just show up because we want them to.
And now we're reaching one of my favorite things to talk about in this topic. It's rule number 4. Always set the right intention before reaching out to spirits. Never communicate with them just to get entertained.
This perhaps should have been the first ground rule. I think it is one of the most important one out of all of the one that we're talking about. It's really the key to everything. It's setting the right intention. So you can of course attract negative energy, negative spirits, but even the good one may teach you a lesson if you're really not checking in with yourself and why you even in the first place starting that communication. I add that very simple line, I call upon energies and spirits that only are made out of pure love, compassion, wisdom, and have the best interest for example, for me or for the person that I'm trying to help or the land that I'm working with. So just that simple phrase, it really sets me the strong boundaries for whoever is going to come into my space. That phrase will get more and more power over time. So the more you're going to repeat it, the more you're going to use it, the more powerful it's going to become. It's like my armor, it's like my shield. And I believe in it and I know it works. And because I've been doing it for some time now, I know these words have magic, they have power to it. It's like a kind of a double verification code, which is really lovely as a practice to ensure that you are communicating with spirits in the most safe possible way. Oh, actually, and there is one more tip in here which I think it's quite interesting, because I know that there's a lot of people out there looking to communicate with spirits that are of deceased people. And that reminds me of a really good tip for that. Again, I put it in a category of intention, because I wouldn't recommend you to communicate with spirits just for entertainment purposes. And it's not the best idea. I'm not saying I've never done it, because I actually have, and I admitted here that I have communicated with ghosts in the past, and I've done it for entertainment purposes, and I do believe that wasn't the smartest way. So perhaps do not get engaged unless you have a really strong purpose for it. And of course, that could be when you try to help that lost soul. Perhaps people of somebody that deceased in a family reached out to you, and they will be asking your help to assist that person with transition. If there is an intention of help, of trying to do the good thing, of trying to do the right thing for either the spirit, a person, a land, sure, if you have the capability and skills and knowledge how to do it, I would say that's acceptable reason. Your intention is really core here. So I'll leave it at that. But you let me know perhaps whether you've had experiences like that then became a bit unsettling because you've opened a channel of communication and you weren't really sure what to do with it afterward. I'll be curious to hear your stories on that.
And we're moving on to rule number 5. Before you start communicating with a number of spirits, it's a good idea to develop a really good, strong bond with one or only few spirits that you know you will be able to trust.
Sometimes it's better to communicate with less spirits but have a very, very powerful relationship with them and deep connection with them than having 20 spirits or random spirits that you want to communicate with, but you don't have that really powerful bond. This is quite important because this particular spirit or helping spirits, they can really become your anchor when it comes to any other communication with any other spirits. I remember when there was a time that I became really, really open to the spirit world, especially during my shamanic crisis, and it was very much as I was a magnet to lots of energies, lots of spirits, and I felt it so much around me during the day and during the night. It became so overwhelming because sometimes I wasn't really sure whether this particular spirit is something that I'm meant to be helping, is it something that I'm meant to be communicating with. So what I did, I asked one of my spirit guides that I already knew and trusted to be that spirit who will introduce any other spirits to me, to be the gateway. And you can do that too if you know your spirit guide. What do you do if you don't have a spirit guide that you can particularly call, or you know that this is him or this is her or this is it? You can also call on more universal energies and universal spirits that humankind has benefited from or has worked with, or other shamans across different cultures have established really strong energies. So these are a little bit more like an archetype type of spirits. And they actually really good to work with, and they are much more safer to start your journey with. When I refer to universal spirits, I mean spirits of love, spirits of beauty, spirits of harmony. Believe me, these are spirits. You can actually call upon spirit of love or beauty if that's something that you think you need to work with in that moment. Alternatively, something more tangible, you could be calling on spirit animals that are really powerful in shamanic cultures. Spirit of eagle, spirit of jaguar, wolf, spirit of coyote, spirit of deer. So you could tap into these spirits, you can tap into these energies if you are not entirely sure who exactly is your spirit guide or spirit animal. And if none of these work for you, you could just simply try to go and find a spirit, mostly from the upper world, because a lot of spirits from the upper world will carry automatically very evolved, high vibrational energy. So these could be angelic spirits, or these could be ascended masters, or any other sort of really beautifully evolved energies. Lots of tips in this category. I've just realized one more tip. There are 4 spirits right now around you that you can tap into it immediately. And these are spirits that are already within us. And I'm talking about the 4 main great elemental energies. I treat them as spirits. Spirit of water, spirit of fire, spirit of air, and spirit of earth. You can really communicate with them as with any other spirit. So if you are starting on your path, one of the next things that you could do is to reach out to these 4 spirits and really start practicing your communication with them. And you will see that over time, that will give you a lot of confidence in any other spirits that will be coming afterwards.
I hope that the next rule, number 6, will be quite easy to follow. Use your instinct, intuition, judgment and experience, and take your time before you fully trust your spirits.
Building a trust with spirit also comes the other way around. So you also gonna have to have that trust for a spirit. Ask for proofs of their good intention and to verify information and to see whether whatever you're being advised will have a good effect and result. And over time, you will start realizing that you have helped a lot of people by working with certain spirit. The great thing is that spirits that will come from a place of love and compassion, they will actually won't mind that. They understand that this trust has to be built both ways, and they will absolutely be in a support for you to verify that. Use your own experience, conclusion, and your own way of perceiving information.
Oh, I do really like rule number 7. Know how to stay grounded, protected, and cleansed. And that's before and after purposeful communication with spirits.
We do need to remember that a lot of spirits will simply have their own agenda, especially spirits from our middle world. So they could be mischievous nature spirits, or they could be spirits of the deceased people. And we need to be aware of that. So sometimes when we receive an information and we're starting to communicate with these spirits, we really need to rely a lot on our own sensations, feelings, judgments, intuition, instincts. All of that will play an important role. You should never really underestimate yourself in that process. Don't ever come from a place of feeling worse than the spirit you're communicating with, because at the end of the day, you are spirit as much as they are. You're coming together into collaboration, into doing something together, hopefully for a good reason. If there is something that inside you is telling you that that's not the way you want to move forward, I would say seriously consider your feelings. Look into it, observe it, and really see where that might be coming from. So one thing that actually really helped me was using prayer or a mantra that I had a deep connection with. As a child, I was brought up as a Catholic, and I used to pray a lot as a child. I had a couple of prayers that I would repeat every night or every morning at the church. It was just something that I wanted to embrace as a child, and I think that was a form of spirituality for me as a small young girl. They really helped me in a lot of difficult times, so I obviously built a lot of power over them, a lot of substance and a lot of energies. When I started to open up to the spirit world and things became a little bit overwhelming to me, I was really desperate for something that would work pretty much instantly, especially at night time. And believe it or not, I used the prayers from my childhood. I felt like I needed something that would be an instant help. When I started using these prayers, a lot of spirits would just vanish. I would remember in my dreams that pray, use your prayer and see how things react to that. If you have a prayer, if you have a mantra that was part of your life, that was part of your family, part of your ancestry, do not be afraid of utilizing that, of practicing that, because shamanism is not meant to cut you off from your roots, and shamanism is not trying to replace anything in your life that already had some beautiful meaning. You've put already so much love and effort into those prayers. Your people have put so much love and faith into those prayers that automatically when you say these words, you carry that energy. You carry energy of your ancestors, of your roots, of your land. We can utilize those powers that we have access to in such a unique way in shamanism. And I think that probably is one of my most useful tips that can really help you pretty much instantly with spirits that you're communicating with but you're unsure about. If you are in a place of fear, that's already not a great spot to start, because your mindset is in a dark place. You are going to be way more vulnerable. If you are in a place where you feel unsettled, fearful, work on your grounding, work on some of the things that we discussed, so you feel much more held in a space when you reach out to spirits. Every time I call upon spirits, again in that purposeful way, I will open the sacred space and then I will close the sacred space after communicating with spirits. Of course, you can communicate with spirits pretty much anywhere, and it can happen in your dream state, but especially when it comes to you trying to reach out to them for something, open your sacred space and close your sacred space afterwards. Very good thing to feel grounded, and very good thing to do to feel protected. Be also aware of your own energy and how that's changing. So you need to start being very much in tune with yourself, on how you're feeling on the day, during the week. Then when you start communicating with spirits, how do you feel afterwards? Very often spirits will draw onto your own energy so they can be heard, seen, and in some way they can really resonate with your own vibrations. If you're contacting a spirit that needed a lot of that energy from you, you maybe feel quite dizzy, tired, sleepy, a bit disoriented at some point. So that's important, because that might still giving you some indication how much recovery time you need and how often you can really go into that very proactive communication. I encourage you to learn how to increase your own energy, so you could do that before communicating with spirits, and you can do that after as well. Really honor your body, really honor yourself. First of all, we need to give ourselves love and we need to give ourselves attention before we give it to anyone else, including spirits.
And you've just arrived to my very last ground rule, and well done for that. Rule number 8. Don't rush into establishing too many communication channels with too many spirits. Less is more.
And finally, last ground rule, don't rush. Less is more. Quality over quantity. You're not any worse shaman, healer, shamanic practitioner, medicine person, however you want to label yourself. You're not worse than anyone else just because you cannot reach out to 20 of different spirits. You could be communicating only with one for the rest of your life, but the connection and the strength and the bond you will both have might be the powerhouse, might be changing the world, might be changing people's life, might be bringing love and harmony into this planet. And that's what really matters. If you have anything else that you'd like to share with others of what else could be useful or helpful, please add that in the section comments below, because we are all here to learn from each other. And if you have something valuable to share as an experience, we are all ears. Thank you so much. Stay joyful, present, healthy, and lots of love from me. I hope to see you in the next video. Bye.